Hello, everyone. This is the third of our Meet the Filmmakers edition, broadcast live on our YouTube channel from the SR Socially Relevant Film Festival New York 2020 online edition. When back in March, we were supposed to open this beautiful program that we so diligently put together, we were so excited because we were going to open at the Lincoln Center and then move to various colleges and universities and also land at Cinema Village at the end of the week. However, of course, you all know what happened, and suddenly everything stopped, everything was canceled. But we didn't want to consider the festival canceled. Initially, we wanted to postpone it to September. But since we didn't know what was going to happen from here till September, we decided to go online, like everything else that's been going on online. And I'm going to thank everyone who made this possible. First of all, the wonderful team of the festival who diligently worked to bring this to fruition in such a short time, because we decided quickly and we jumped at it, to the generosity and the trust of the wonderful filmmakers that are part of the Socially Relevant Film Festival's 7th annual edition, now going online, and also them letting us stream their films, which is really wonderful. Thank you all, filmmakers. As I was saying earlier in our session when we were chatting with the filmmakers who are here in the green room waiting to be let in, I was telling them that a festival cannot happen without films, good films in our case, and good filmmakers. So thank you everyone for making it possible. I want to give a huge shout out to our jury members, all 23 or 24 of them, I lose count, who are probably listening in, who have diligently watched all the films and have made their selections. And we are going to find out about all the winners on Sunday on our live broadcast from Zoom. This is not going to be live on YouTube, but on our Zoom channel, because we need to bring everybody on, and the YouTube studio only allows 6 people at once. Whereas with Zoom, we can bring all the filmmakers on camera. We can bring all the jury members who are tuning in on camera, all the team, and everybody else. So we would be very happy if everyone joins us on Sunday at 4 p.m. Today's theme is medicine and healthcare. It's very apropos because the last 3 months, all of us have been at the mercy of our doctors, nurses who have done such a heroic job and tried to flatten the curve. However, it's not over yet. Even though the films we have today do not talk about the pandemic, we are in a situation where a health crisis is threatening the entire world and economy. So let's just make a point of putting on our masks. I'm going to bring on all the filmmakers now, so to make a point that we are all still wearing our masks when we go out in public. And we urge you to do the same. Because yes, we are opening slowly. Yes, we are coming out of our homes. Yes, we are going into cafes and terraces. But if we don't cover our faces, we are not only putting our lives in danger, we are also putting everybody's life in danger and extending this terrible period of confinement and lockdown. We don't want that. So we urge everyone, when you go out, respect the guidelines. Wear your mask, wash your hands, keep your social distance. I also want to thank our sponsors, because without our sponsors, we could not continue this festival. We have a special sponsor, also our Indie Picks industry partner, who has donated DVDs that we are going to raffle at every session. There is a enter to win button on the website, on the festival website, where you can go in and register for one of these talks. When you register, automatically you are entered, and a winner is decided per session. And also the moderators get a thank you present. Okay, so the films today are about medicine and health. It's the film block 3, which talks about we have Nurse Helen Fairchild, but the director Eliciana Nascimento is not with us, but I'm announcing it. We have very rare, we have director Megan Hattie. Megan, maybe you can wave so they know who is Megan. Yeah, wonderful. And we have Michael David Drucker, who is the director of Gifts of Life, which is a beautiful short film about the transplant community and how all these wonderful people are getting a second chance in life. They are all incredible films. Very Rare is about side effects of medications that are written in very tiny small print, and then your doctor tells you it's very rare, it's very rare. And of course, statistically, it might be very rare, but if you are the one in that statistics, it's not fun to be that one. And also, we have with us Janet Jarman, who is the director of Birth Wars, and it's the documentary feature which talks about Mexico and the conflict between midwives and doctors about what is a better and more safe or sane way of birthing. And she has done an incredible job with this documentary, filming instances that nobody dares go in and film, and she's going to talk about that later. Last but not least, or first actually, I want to introduce you to our moderator. Let me see. I want to bring her on as a, yeah, Brigitte Gauthier. Oops, no, I'm getting the wrong person. And it keeps wanting to scroll. I don't want it to scroll. Let me just bring this like that. Yeah, there you go. Brigitte Gauthier is our moderator for this session. And let me quickly introduce you, Brigitte. Brigitte graduated from Columbia University Film School, excuse me. She produced documentaries and worked for an independent film channel for several years. She's a French university professor at Evry, Paris, and specializes in theater, film, and television. She translated Linda Seeger's Making a Good Script Great, Robert McKee's Story, Sid Field's The Screenwriter's Problem Solver, Stuart Wojtyla and Scott Petrie's Writing the Comedy Film, R.M. Stefanik's The Mega Hit Movies, Blake Snyder's Steve the Cat, Mark Travis's Directing Feature Films, all into French. She's written many books on Harold Pinter and Pina Bausch, such as Viva Pinter, Harold Pinter's Spirit of Renaissance, and Le Langage Cinématographique de Pina Bausch. She's the author of 2 novels, Game Boy, published by L'Harmattan in France, and Personne ne le saura, published by Gallimard Série Noire. She specializes in novel to script writing activities. She is the founder of Quicksands, a production company dedicated to committed series and documentaries. We are very happy to have Brigitte with us today, and she is going to moderate this talk so that the conversation flows with the filmmakers. I'm going to come out into the green room and go grab a cigarette. Of course not. I got you there. This is about health and medicine, and I'm going to grab a cigarette. I don't even smoke, have never smoked in my life. Okay. So, this said, I leave you together in the able hands of Brigitte, and you can all chat with each other. Oh, by the way, to whoever is listening, audience members can write questions if they have questions in the comments section. We can see here in the comments section how what questions are being asked, and then I can project them onto the screen and ask them, and the filmmakers can answer your questions. Okay, everybody, ta-ta, see you later.
Thank you so much, Nora. That was fantastic. I'm so happy to be with you tonight with the team. Before Nora was nice enough to introduce me to you, I was feeling that my identity was basically being a jury member for a socially relevant film festival. It seems that it's been the most prominent part of my life recently, because everything else is just, basically what you do. But having met Nora changed my life, and I think might change your life too, because she was brave enough to organize totally from scratch a gathering of talented filmmakers from all around the world with issues which are heavy issues. And I've been flying over to New York every year in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years or 4 or 5 years to be part of the festival. I know when I get on the plane that the whole point is going to be about crying at the movies and laughing at the parties. So the parties online will be yours, and the movies are also yours. I was very impressed by what I saw. I specialize mostly right now on refugees and write stories on refugees. I did a short documentary on refugees. I'm writing, which has been extended to 1,500 pages series project. And I was ready for this panel, and suddenly Nora told me, "You like." With the medics, and why not? And as life turns out to be really weird, I was really shocked when I saw your movies, because I think there's something which is common in your work, which is the fact that you have been able to knock on people's doors. That is to say, issues about health seem to be stories for others. It's like we all happy living and kicking, and then suddenly something happens. And for the first time in like those 5 or 6 years, instead of flying to join the people to meet Nora, I was basically in the ER around the corner in my country, waiting for my turn for 6 hours. And suddenly I thought that, the film festival is starting, and I've been watching the opening of the film festival in the ER. The ER being with the COVID system, not an indoor waiting room, but an outdoor waiting room. So I watched the opening in the ambulance section, and I started watching the climate movies in outside, away, with preserving the distance from everybody else. And the films helped me, be patient. And then I'm here tonight with you guys. And as I said, I was very impressed, because you have the knack to enter the stories and to make us like part of them right away. So I think the first thing we should do is you should maybe briefly introduce yourself and the reasons, maybe just in one line, why you decided to do this movie. I've got the Transplant Man, I've got Miss Fluxies, and I've got Miss Birth Wars. So we'll start with the women, maybe. So Megan, can you just tell us a few words about yourself, and in one line, why you chose to do this movie?
Sure, I'm Megan. I'm based in New York, now upstate New York. I decided to make Very Rare because my partner was suffering some very strange side effects after taking ciprofloxacin for a prostate infection, and the side effects ended up being worse than what he had to begin with. And the best way I could help him, I think, was to document what he was going through and try to share it with others.
Okay. The girl?
Okay, I'm Janet Jarman. I live in Mexico City. I've been working in Mexico as a photojournalist and filmmaker since 2003. And throughout most of my career, apart from assignments, I'm always doing long-term projects, and I've grown into doing films in the last couple of years. Birth Wars is about a system, a health system, and it's not just in Mexico, but all over the world, a crisis in the healthcare system of oversaturation and medicalization that is having extremely adverse effects on women and making them feel as if they're giving birth, in this case, probably birth, in a very disrespectful way. So I'd like to try to start dialogue to change the health system and bring humanity back to medicine.
Michael?
Yes. First of all, both Megan and Janet, both of your films were fantastic. And I'm sure we're going to get deeper into this, but I was worried about Nate now, and I'm sure you'll tell us. And also, Janet, so impressed that you were also the cinematographer as well as the director of your film, and it is beautiful. Gifts of Life really started because I was brought in to figure out how to increase awareness about organ donation. And Long Island Trio and Hearts for Us, we collaborated and figured, let's try to find people passionate about telling their story about how they got a second chance in life. And we were fortunate enough to find Shelby, Jack, and Jennifer, who told their stories. And at first we were thinking short PSAs. But when we looked at it all together, we felt like if we can figure out a way to string this together, it could be something a little bit more substantial. And so we're so honored to be in the festival, and we're thankful for Nora's hard work and that more people get a chance to see this message.
Well, I'm back in the studio because we have two comments which I want to throw on the screen and answer, since Michael is talking and the questions are addressed to him. So if you excuse me, Brigitte, I'm going to answer them now because we don't want to lose the comments and then other comments come and then we are struggling through them. So here is a question. Michael, what was the hardest part of filming, and what was your greatest surprise you learned during filming?
Before I started filming these interviews, I was not an organ donor. But as soon as I heard the stories, I immediately signed up to become a donor. So doing this work actually did change me. And I realized you don't need your organs once you leave this world, and you can live on in someone else. So I learned a big lesson.
We have another question also to you. And here is Michael, another Michael is asking, most people are familiar with the driver's license option to be a donor. But what are other ways people can seek out the opportunity to be a donor during their lifetime?
You can go to donatelife.newyork.gov or donatelife.net and sign the register. It's very simple. Should I put it in the chat? Will they see the chat?
Yeah, what is it? I'll create a
Donatelife.ny.gov is one. And donatelife.net. Both have links to the registry. It's very simple to sign up.
Okay, so there you go.
Thanks.
We'll show it briefly. donatelife.ny.gov. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so there we go. There is another question. This one is for Megan. So Michael asks again, he says, you take a well-established industry with Cipro, but also doctors who reflexively prescribe Cipro and other popular, well-marketed drugs. Any lessons?
Well, basically what I wanted to do with this film is just educate people and just sort of invite some skepticism for patients, because I think, I'm not talking about all doctors, but I think a lot of doctors can tend to overprescribe something that's maybe more powerful than it needs to be for the condition. And I would like, people to sort of realize that they have to take their health into their own hands. And if they're prescribed something with phlox in the name, to just maybe ask their doctor again, like, is this really what I need, or is there something weaker I could have, because I've heard about these side effects that are really harmful. And a lot of times doctors don't get enough information, like they don't have all the information of these testimonials. And yeah, so the lesson there, I guess, is just to inform people that this is a thing. And I think a lot of people who suffer from fluoroquinoline toxicity are misdiagnosed as having other conditions like lupus or multiple sclerosis or fibromyalgia. And a couple people at screenings have had it click for them that they probably were floxed and they didn't think about it. So just kind of, yeah, my goal is to just have people think about what they're being prescribed and be a little skeptical and not just trust that their doctor knows what's best for them. Not that the doctor's trying to trick them, they just might not have well-rounded information.
Very interesting. So I'm going to go out again and let you continue the conversation. When I see a comment, then I'm going to bring it back onto the screen, now that you know how it's working. Okay, ta-ta.
Okay, so back online. If we move on from what we just heard, Megan, it's like I feel that every single one of you is trying to raise awareness. But this is going very far, what you're doing, basically, because this is asking people to actually question, eventually, prescriptions. We were brought up trusting our doctors. Do you think that life changed, or what would you advise people to do?
I think that, the fact that these antibiotics are so powerful is a sign of how far we've come in medicine, and how, if somebody has a life-threatening condition, then Cipro could be exactly what they need to come back from that. And so I think it just depends on, it's just thinking of things like more holistically and more like from a perspective of functional medicine, I think is important. Yeah, it's true that, yeah, you were grown up thinking that we should be able to trust our doctors. And for many floxies, the people who have been affected by this is their first wake-up call of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have blindly trusted my doctor, because the doctor could be trying to do what's best for you, but these things that are very rare supposedly still happen. And yeah, I think there's a lot of ways in which we need to be skeptical of what we're told and learn from an early age in all kinds of areas, not just medicine. So
I think this is very interesting, because you by filming what you film, you might actually achieve changes in life by proving that some new legal issues should be really tackled. What you're basically saying is like, maybe there should be a list of dangerous or potentially dangerous drugs, and that for those drugs, people should need like 2 advice or something like that. And This is what I find very interesting in the socially relevant documentaries, is that they're not just documenting life, they're potentially opening new ways of dealing with our lives. Does any of the others want to add something on that? How do you add to the legal issues? Maybe Janet is very close to that in her movie.
First of all, Megan, thank you so much. Thank you both for doing these incredible films. They really touched me a lot. I've been thinking about medicine and my whole life. I almost went to be or studied medicine. And I think you bring up so many really important issues here. And I think birth wars can relate maybe more to Megan's, or actually about the whole process, that if we can just start to see that there is another way. And that's the main point that I wanted to make in this case with childbirth, and also an emphasis or return to ancestral or natural processes. It's more of a concept. And if we could do that in medicine, I think that's where midwifery and comes in, because it's been here for so long, and it's how women have had babies and assistants and attendants for so long. And if we could start to maybe go back and reevaluate and reappraise that model, I think we could bring more humanity back. And it's part of the prescribing. The same thing happens basically to many women in a birth. We have this incredible technology that is perfect and wonderful for emergencies, but birth over the years or decades has been treated, or we've been led to believe that birth is an emergency or something that has to happen in the hospital, and therefore there has to be intervention, when in fact the WHO statistics show that 85% of births should and could happen through a natural process, and really only statistically 15% need medical intervention. So I think the question is to ask, and I loved your point about educating ourselves about medicine, because I think a lot, maybe we've become, things are so, I think about this all the time. What happened? I think things became so easy. They became so difficult and stressful and fast, but they also became so easy. So you could just say, oh, well, what does the doctor say? And I know growing up in the US, I've changed a lot since living out of the US for the last 20 years. My theory and my philosophy of medicine has changed a lot, maybe because of where I've lived, but also as you go through life, it changes. But yeah, it's to ask questions and really think, is this the healthiest way to go about this issue, and what is the solution? And also patience. I think a lot of why we are prescribed these drugs, or because it's great that they can help us, and in many cases they can, but a lot of it's patience. The doctors might be in a hurry, and this is a quick fix, and we're also impatient. And the same thing happens in birth. It might take a really long time to have a natural birth, but I've seen it happen, and I've filmed one recently or photographed one, and to see the process of empowerment and that happens in that power over yourself and the destiny of your own health. It's really incredible. So
it's very topical, because nowadays with the crisis, people are really trying to think about alternative ways, what we call alternative, but it could be traditional, hyper-traditional ways. Also, people need issues of proximity, because there might not be the possibility to run towards the next hospital to get treatment. What I've been very impressed with is the way each single one of you has been very close to the people. So can we move on? Maybe we move on to Michael to explain how you managed to select your people.
I'm back. There is a question which I posted. Maybe you guys aren't seeing it. A question for Janet. So before we leave Janet, maybe she can answer that question.
Quickly.
Were there points along the way where your role as director and as cinematographer conflicted? And how did you resolve them, or how did it influence the film?
That's a very good question. Thank you, Elizabeth Chandler. And I think it's interesting. I come from a photojournalistic background. I've been a photojournalist for my whole career until I started moving into film a few, maybe 10 years ago, doing audio and then more motion. And so every project I've done, I've sort of been my own, it's been, aside from assignments, I'll start these long projects that I care deeply about. And I'm the director because I'm sort of, and I end up sort of initiating the projects myself, producing them, finding the people, because it's a topic that I care about so much, and I will have studied it, and I'll go find what I want, how I want to tell the story. So in essence, being the director and the cinematographer, I mean, I am a photographer. I love cinematography, and I wanted to photograph this, but it was also, I didn't know who else would. And I think being a director and a cinematographer at the same time, I mean, it's kind of convenient because it's definitely two people in one. And if your car is small and it's full of equipment and you have a tiny crew, so just have, and so if I did have many conversations, I think it gave me probably more stress than being a still photographer, because I had this constant director, photographer, be in charge of a team in sometimes very unsafe places. So, you know, directing a team and directing myself, which I'm very used to, and having these conversations in my head. And so I don't know if it really affected the outcome. I thought about it, and maybe it would have been nice to have more photographers, but then, or a second photographer, but then it was so spontaneous and so organic how the story came together that I could never, ever have planned when I would need a second photographer, and they would have never been able to get there in time. So in essence, it just put a lot more pressure on me, but fortunately, I was just, and it's just so much dialogue inside my own head that probably at times it was hard to be super creative as I'm used to being, and also directing a team and trying to keep access and stay safe. So probably just less sleep.
How did you choose to, I mean, the length of your movie? I mean, did you start by aiming at doing a short and then expanding it? Or did you start from the start with this like huge project?
Me or everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, just quickly, I received a grant to do this film from the MacArthur Foundation. I'm so grateful to be able to do a long form film or feature documentary. It was my first feature documentary. I have done I've done shorter films and shorter stories, but this was the first feature, so it was sort of the same story process, but just a lot longer. But I definitely knew the end goal was a feature. I didn't know exactly how long, but I knew I didn't want it to be too long, because you're asking a lot of people to look at a feature documentary. You're asking a lot from them, and it's a big commitment. So I think the story could be told in several shorts. Maybe there's so many diverse stories in this topic, and to do a feature, I had to really take this complex topics and think, which story do I want to tell for this long film, and how am I going to tell it?
Do you feel your style has been evolving from the beginning to the end? I mean, did you discover new ways of getting closer to the people?
I think throughout my career in photojournalism, that's always been something I've sort of a trait or something that I hope defines my work. I'm always trying to get really close to the essence of the scene, and I want to be close to the people. I want to take people so they can see and feel this issue, and for me, that's taking them there where I am. And so a lot of my stories have been really, really intimate and long term, and I get to know people very, very well, and spend a lot of time with them, and that's my favorite way to work, because I feel like it gives a lot of respect to the person, and you're not just jumping in and leaving. So I like to build trust and give respect and try to really, really get to the essence. So in motion, it's not the same medium at all. It is very, very different, but it's the same process of getting close and intimate. I actually thought that I would never be able to photograph births as I had before in still photography. Or sometimes one of my biggest fears going into this film was, how will I be able to achieve this intimacy that I could in stills with this bigger camera and more people, and we will draw so much attention in these areas. We will certainly have to leave, but it was really not like that at all. You just work a little bit more slowly, and I had a very small team, and that was very important to me. And I worked with sometimes with a field producer, sometimes not, but mainly with a sound sonidista, sound professional. Her name is Maria Cristina, in the field, and she was with me all the time. And I'm sure I drove her crazy at times. It's very organic how I would move and work, but we were together, and I loved sound so much. But we were a very small team, and so we made less impact. So the tools that I thought would be a problem weren't so much as I thought.
Well, you're doing an amazing job, and it's. I wish all the people listening will be watching it and sharing it with others, so that because people get very quickly very close and feel that we belong, and we become part of this community and part of this project. Thank you. Michael, can you explain to us something about your technical choices, how you organize your shoots? I mean, all of this video part.
We also work with a very small crew, but I have a DP that I work with on this project. His name is Tim Newman, and a sound person as well. So, Janet, you're one step closer because you're right in on it shooting, and I envy that. And I just have one quick question. What camera were you shooting on mostly?
I used a Canon. It's Canon C300.
That's the camera that we usually use too. That's such a great camera.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was the question? I got distracted.
Anything special about your film intentions, your technique?
We were just moving very quickly. So we had a small crew that set up, did the interviews, tried to do some B-roll cover footage at whatever location we were at, and then we would move. So we shot a lot in a very short amount of time. The whole thing was just 2 days of shooting. And it ended up being 13 minutes only because it evolved to that. We felt like this could be longer. Now we've also cut it up into shorter segments that we're releasing on the internet after this film festival. And also 30-second spots that will play in various locations. So we are mining the archive that we got and repurposing it.
I think people might be interested in knowing how you picked your people, how you picked your characters.
Well, Long Island Trio works with a lot of this community, and they had known these, all three are young people who speak in schools and they tell their story. So between Hearts for Russ and Long Island Trio, they suggested those three. And it worked out great.
And we have a question here for Michael. It says, how are you using your film to promote organ donation awareness? Will we see this film elsewhere? 2 questions in one.
Most importantly, this is on the socially relevant film festival site for the next 24 hours or so. We hope if you haven't seen the film, you'll go and watch it there. And then beyond that, yes, we're hoping you could take a look at it on YouTube.
Great. So since I'm back, let me take this opportunity and do my little plug on the festival. We are in the 7th edition of SR, Socially Relevant Film Festival New York, and we decided to go online because when the festival closed down back in March, we didn't want to say the festival is canceled, but we wanted to say it was postponed. And the postponement ended up becoming an online version, which, to be honest, I'm quite liking. Because here it is, we are all talking with each other. Maybe some of these filmmakers would not have been able to come to New York had we done the week in New York. A lot of times we have overseas filmmakers who are unable to attend, who can maybe come a part of the festival or 2 days at the beginning or at the end and so on. Of course, we are losing a lot of other things. What we are losing is all the networking and the happy hours that some of our sponsor restaurants and cafes in the neighborhood of the festival were always generously offering us, and we have thanked them, and their logos are still on our website just in case, because they have been supporting us for all these years. And the fact that we're not there this year doesn't mean that we shouldn't applaud their support. And also, I want to talk to you about one of our industry partners, Indie Films, who have offered a DVD set, or actually one DVD per session, that will be raffled, and a winner will be selected from each of these talks that we are having with the filmmakers, and you can enter to win. You can enter to win one of these DVDs from our website. It's on the website, right on the homepage. There is a button that says enter to win, and you will get a chance to get a draw from our industry partner, Indie Films. We also have other industry partners. I'm not going to go mention them one by one because we want to give a chance for the filmmakers to continue the discussion. But all these partners and sponsors are listed on our website under Socially Relevant Film Festival online in the drop-down menu. In the drop-down menu, you will also find all the other wonderful programs we have for the rest of the week. We still have barely just begun the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Tomorrow, there are very interesting films from Lebanon, and there are three documentaries actually from Palestinian-themed documentaries. Two of them are about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and one of them is about a brewery in Palestine, which is very interesting because through this brewery and beer and everything, we are introduced to the dynamics of that society. So tomorrow is that talk, but unlike these other talks, which we have been having at 5:30 p.m., tomorrow's talk is at 2 p.m. because of the time difference. We are going to be chatting with the film directors from Lebanon. So please join us again tomorrow. And to see the films, it's only $6, people. It's nothing. If you had come to the cinema, besides the subway fare or the taxi or bus or whatever you would have taken, you would have had to pay $15 to get to see the films. Now it's only $6 from the comfort of your own sofa, from your own home, in your slippers, in your pajamas, and in your rollers. So that's the price for the narratives and documentary features. And the short collections are even less than that. It's $4. All this information is on the website, www.ratedSRfilms. Let me pass the banner. This is the moment for the banner. There you go. So you can come and join us and see these films. So thank you guys. I'm going to make myself rare again and let you continue the talk. You have another 15 minutes that you can continue to discuss each other's films. And I'm going to keep an eye on the audience's comments in case there are other questions, and I'll post them on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Noha. So we're back to Megan. I wanted to say that we're all filmmakers, and we've all been looking for ways of telling stories, and we've all been looking for new ways of telling stories. And I must admit that what Megan has achieved stylistically is totally new. I never saw anything like that. We've all seen multi-screens. They started with Alan Pakula. We've all have like different people, seen different people chatting at the same time. But I never saw anything like that, that maybe you would describe better than I would. Like people who start talking and the others are talking at the same time, but we hear without hearing the others. And it does create something which is, you know, rather disturbing. And I think it helps explaining the fact that those medical issues change your life and upset the way you relate. Can you understand how you do that? Was it like just a technical error to start with that you you used as inspiration, or was it totally like decided upon?
Yeah, editing together. So I conducted several interviews via Skype for the film and recorded the screens. And thinking back, it reminds me a lot of what I'm looking at right now, like in all the Zoom calls that I do. It looks a lot like what I ended up doing in my film. But yeah, I think I sort of just wanted to show the magnitude of the issue, and I unfortunately didn't have time in my short to go into many of the specifics of my participants that I interviewed over Skype, but I just wanted to sort of give as many faces to the problem as I could. And yeah, editing that was actually really fun. Like if I removed myself from the very serious subject matter, that was like, as somebody who's directed music videos and like edited really rhythmically, it was interesting to kind of piece together those images. And I think it was, yeah, honestly, it was kind of, again, very serious, but kind of a playful section because of the give and take, and these people who don't know each other, but they have a lot in common, and they were really easily able to finish each other's sentences. And so for me, that almost has sort of like a musical element to it, where I think it's pretty engaging and more powerful than if I were to have one person at a time.
I think it works because people go on talking and we can't listen to them because we're already on to the other person, and that's what life is about. We're always moving on and on and on. And what you're doing is creating a new way of trying to channel into the people. What I'd like you to do now for the last few minutes is interact between one another. So maybe you could try and figure out not what you liked so much in the other's work, but what you found very similar to what you've been trying to do. Janet, what could you say about the other's works which was similar to your intentions? You need to put your mic on.
Sorry, my dogs were barking. What I loved about your two films were it's definitely had a tell me something new element and bring my attention to very important issues. And I love the innovative ways that you use Megan. And Michael, I can't believe you shot that in 2 days. I mean, 2 days, that's just so incredible. I had more than 2 years. And so I applaud you for that. But there's some stories that you can do you can do stories in 2 days. You can do stories that take 2 years or 10, or it doesn't matter. It's the story that counts. So that's what I appreciated, the tell me something new. I really learned a lot in your films, and I could relate to them. I know people who have been in these situations that you're talking about, and I'm just happy that you made a film to bring so much more awareness, because you're right, they don't talk about these two issues so often. And I also love the nurse film, but she's not here, but I do applaud that.
Yeah, me too. I love that, and it felt relevant now too. Saluting nurses. So I was hoping she was going to be here. But Janet, the birth footage that you shot is really so spectacular and intimate. How many births did you record?
Well, thank you so much. I think birth is, I never imagined that one day I would photograph so many births, but it is just like anything. There is so much adrenaline, and it's like, it is such an event, and every birth is different, and it is super intimate. I think I might have seen, over 50. So we did cut some. And I didn't want the movie to be about birth, because it's really about the system and about how to improve the system to give more dignity. It just happens that there is, it's a topic that so many people care about deeply. And I photographed a lot, and I loved the home births. And it really moved me. I can't believe at the end, the two births that stand out. Obviously, I photographed a traditional midwife in Chiapas resuscitating a baby. And I also photographed a team of doctors near Acapulco saving the life of a woman who was having a uterine hemorrhage. So it's just, the venues are very, very different. But to see people saving lives was really impactful. And birth is also something it is so special, and I want to be as discreet as possible and sort of become invisible, because it's a very important part in their life. By the time I photographed those births, they knew me, of course, and we established relationships. But yeah, it's not easy, because you do have more equipment, you don't want to be in the way at all, and you have no idea how it's going to go. So it can get very emotional, it's very involved.
And Megan, you shot portions of yours as well, right? You had to be. You're very intimate with him. He was very comfortable with you with his shirt off, and you were right in there with him. So
Yeah, I filmed it all.
yeah, the two of you guys also shot. That's great. And I like what you did with layering the different faces, as if you heard from one person and he's still telling you more about it. It's not just that little piece of his problem. It's a whole big story while you're going on to the other stories. That was creative. Because it's tough to work with that quality when you record like a Zoom call. Or you said Skype. So keeping it smaller in the frame is smart.
Right, yeah, and there were lots of issues with syncing of the sound and image, but I kind of just realized no one's gonna scrutinize that too much. It's a Skype interview, so yeah. Thank you. And yeah, I unfortunately, Janet, haven't had a chance to watch your film yet, but now I'm looking forward to it even more in the next day.
Fantastic.
And,
are you a donor? I'm just curious.
Am I a donor? Yes. When I signed up for my New York driver's license, and then I went to the website, and it's like you can choose all the different parts, like part by part, what you want to donate, which was really interesting to me. I was just like, why would I want to donate some things and not others? Do you know?
That's a good question. Yeah, I didn't get asked those specific questions, so that's interesting. But I know you can donate tissue, eyes, your organs, your bone marrow. Someone could probably list them very easily, but I'm not an expert in that. But that's great that you did it. How about you, Janet? Are you a donor?
Yeah, I am on my Virginia driver's license, which has expired during COVID. And my mother writes me from Virginia every 2 weeks. Are you driving in Mexico? Because you're going to get in trouble. But I do remember I marked that, and I know that it's super important. And I know that people in my family have been able to be donors after they passed away, and it's just super important. So I am in Virginia, but you make me think that I've wondered how I should do that, here where I live in Mexico. So I will look into that. And I wanted to say one thing about your film that really struck me and makes it so appropriate now, I think, as we are discovering how connected we are and how we're all experiencing this crisis globally together. I think the idea of being a donor and giving life to someone else is just another way to pull that theme of living together and how all of our lives affect other lives is really important now. And it's a very different way of showing that concept of giving to someone else. So thank you for that original.
Thanks.
What you've done is extremely moving, every single one of you. Do you have something to add about the nurse story? Because the other movie, which the person was not here today, is about nurse dying in the war. Did you want to add something?
Nurse Helen Fairchild. There were some amazing, if you haven't seen this short, check it out, because there were some amazing old photographs that I thought was really cool. And it was a relevant topic in the niece of this woman wanting her to get a Purple Heart, honoring her for her service and her sacrifice. And look how we look upon first responders now. We have a lot of respect for them. So it felt relevant.
Yeah. For me, it was, go ahead, Megan.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
For me, it immediately hit me, okay, that I really appreciated her effort to honor the work of a woman who was being overlooked. And I would say that about the hundreds of midwives I've met in Mexico and around the world, that is the biggest dilemma or feeling, that their work is so timely, so incredible. They have so much, training and so much purpose in a woman's life, and yet they're being overlooked. So I was happy to see that, and it really definitely related to what I've photographed here. There's a movement all over the world to integrate midwives again into healthcare systems, and also respect autonomous midwives and traditional midwives for all of the work that they're sort of doing behind the scenes, and that needs to be brought into front of the scenes. And that recognition, I've heard it from so many women, and so it really resonated when I saw this film about a nurse and going back and wanting her to receive the recognition that she deserves.
Thank you. I would like to end on a note of joy, because you're all dealing with topics which are absolutely devastating. But at the same time, the feeling we walk out with watching your movies is a feeling of joy. You've been able to share this. Anything you want to add about this?
I learned so much about the state of medicine today, where you can take a heart and put it in someone's body and it lives on. I'm just so amazed with modern medicine and what can be done now. And I've met a lot of great people in the community, and there's some I'm praying for right now who are waiting for organs. So if you're not a donor, please consider going to donatelife.net. It's very easy to sign up. You'll be doing something good for someone beyond when you're here, and you get to live on somebody else.
Megan? Joy?
Joy. It's hard for me to find joy in my film, honestly. I can say that Nate, the protagonist, is doing better now than he was a year ago. And he doesn't have daily pain in his ankles anymore. But he still isn't able to run or rock climb like he used to. So yeah, it's hard to feel positive about the specific topic of my film.
I believe being present helped, I guess. What about Janet? And then Nora will get back to you. Janet?
Yeah, I think that the joy that I found, so much joy spending time with people in so many situations and so many parts of their life, from births to graduations to funerals to renewals to everything. That connection fills my life, and I hope that everyone can connect with the characters and where we went. But I think at the end, if I look, and what brings me great joy is just to see how, if humans can treat each other like human beings instead of as statistics or numbers, what incredible things can happen. And so that's what I'm left with, hope for that. And I hope that concept can grow, and we can treat each other as humans. And also the power I found and witnessed of women helping other women was really incredible for me, because I didn't think of it. I've been through my whole career trying not to think about, I don't want to be different. I am an individual, but I really saw these women coming together to help women through this important process, and it was really powerful. But I think that goes for humans helping humans as well.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you everyone for such a wonderful panel. I'm really, I don't know what to say. It's all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You were saying thank you to the festival, but as I said before, it's like without the films and without the filmmakers, we don't have a festival. So I really thank you all for being here, for sharing your knowledge, acquired knowledge by making these documentaries, for showing these documentaries and enlightening the people about these social issues, about the health issues that we are all facing. Thank you, Brigitte. It's quite late for you, I know. 6 hours ahead, so it's
Midnight, yeah.
nice. And thank you for being with us and moderating this panel. Thank you to everyone who's listening. And please don't feel like this is over. The conversation still goes on. And you are welcome to put your questions in the comments, and the filmmakers are going to answer you there. Thank you, everyone.
Nice meeting you guys.
It was great to meet everyone.
Continued success.
Congratulations. Yeah, thank you.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Well, you can continue to talk. The broadcast is ending.